Hi everyone, welcome back to A Bookish Heart with Shona. It's January 9th, 9 days into the new year, and I realized I haven't even filmed any wrap-up videos for 2019 yet. So this is going to be the best books of 2019. This is not necessarily books that were published in 2019. Obviously this is just my favorites out of the books I read in 2019. This is just my personal opinion, so I'm not saying these are the best books of all. This is the best books that I enjoyed the most that I read in 2019. I read 31 books, and I have 9 favorites. So yeah, so I'll get right into it. One of the first books I read in January, I think, of 2019, this, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is now one of my favorite books. When I first started reading it, the first maybe 70 pages, I was a little confused. There was a lot of terms that I didn't recognize. I haven't read her other books, like the Grishaverse trilogy, so I found it a little confusing at first to keep everything straight because this world was new to me. But I kept reading, and once I got into it, I was so glad that I kept reading it. The characters are the best part of this book. The characters are just amazing. They feel like they're really your friends, and your heart goes out to them. This book is very character driven, but it also has a good enough plot. There's enough action, enough excitement and unpredictability in the plot. So I found it was very well written. As I said, with the characters, most books have 1 or 2 main characters, and oftentimes they can't even do that properly. The characters are not fully fleshed out, and they're just shallow characters or one-dimensional. These characters, there's I think 5 or 6 main characters, and they all have a main part in the story, but they're all very well written. So I find for the author to write a book with that many characters that you connect with is amazing. I'm not going to talk too much about it because this video will be too long if I talk about each book in depth, but I'll have a full review of this book coming on my channel. Then, the one I read right after that was the sequel, Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. And this is actually a duology, so there's these 2 books. Oftentimes when you read a series, the first book is the best, and then the other ones might be good but not as good. I found with this, Six of Crows was amazing, and Crooked Kingdom was even more amazing, or just as good, if not better. It really expanded on the character relationships. They put a new twist to the plot. The way that the characters interacted, and it just added a whole new layer and some backstory that helped you understand the characters more. So yeah, these are definitely my favorite duology, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. It definitely makes me want to read more by her, which I will be reading the Grishaverse in the future. And yeah. Then these are not in any particular order of when I read them or how much I like them. Just kind of doing it randomly. But another one of my favorite books. A very short book. The first book I actually read by Neil Gaiman. I found a copy at the library. I was sitting there, I read it in about 45 minutes, and it's very short, graphic novel. I liked it so much, I actually ordered this for myself for Christmas. It's a take on Sleeping Beauty. He writes a couple short graphic novels that are like twisted fairy tales. The pictures in it, let's see if I can find one, like the artwork is mostly black and white with some accents, but it's very I don't know if you can see that, but the artwork is like very beautiful. I found it stunning. Some pages there's hardly any words, mostly pictures, and some pages are like mostly text. The story was interesting. It was a unique concept. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I know where this story's going. It was taking a fairy tale and completely reinventing it. It had a female as the heroine, who, instead of the prince riding in and saving the day, the female was like the hero. There was an interesting part about a sleeping curse that was on the whole town, not just the sleeping princess. And I just found it a really interesting take, and it made me want to read more of his short fairy tales. I actually ordered the next one, which was just released, I think, last November or October of 2019. It's called Snow, Glass, and Apples, and it's a Snow White retelling. But yeah, this one, definitely a good, fast, easy read. Everyone should check it out. And yeah. Another one that I rated, I think 4 or 5 stars, was Karabell by Stephanie Garber. This series is pretty popular YA fantasy. It's actually a trilogy, Karabell, and then Legendary and Finale. And there's a lot of mixed opinions about this book. A lot of people don't like it or think it's childish. I actually really liked it. I did not like some of the characters. I found the characters just immature. They made bad decisions. They were annoying, and as you were reading it, you're like, why are you doing that? Why are you being so selfish and dumb? But so some of the characters I had problems with, and some of the ways that they were portrayed and the women were portrayed, but in general, I liked the storyline. I found it interesting with the magic elements and the competition. So I found it was an easy, fun, fast read that really intrigued me. And I did end up reading the next 2 books and was intrigued enough to continue on with the series. So yeah, I find the cover very beautiful, and it's like the artwork on the back is nice. This book would look so nice in hardcover, I'm sure. So yeah, that's that book. The next one, which was, I think, one of my final reads of 2019 that I read in December, an Owl Crate book that I got, Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. This book I am planning to do a whole review of. I have a lot to say about this book. First, this cover is stunning. It's like shiny foil. And then if you open it up, it has a picture on the book itself, and it has blue sprayed edges. Owl Crate never did sprayed edges in the past. They just did their exclusive covers. But they're starting to do some with sprayed edges, which I actually really like. So this book was, I haven't read her other book, The Wicked Deep, so this was the first book I read by Shay Earnshaw, and I actually loved it. Even though one of the plot twists I figured out about halfway through, and I said, I think this is what's happening, but it wasn't enough to ruin it. I still wanted to see how the characters would find out, what would happen, how they would interact. I liked that the main character's last name was Walker, and my last name's Walker. So it kind of made me feel connected to the story, like that could be my family. And so I found that interesting, because I also come from a line of strong women. And yeah, I just found the characters, like how they were witches and the magic, and I even found the beginning very interesting when she's explaining all the treasures that she finds, and like she has jars of random things that she's collected over the years. I just found that so interesting. So yeah, I liked the characters. I liked the old man, like one of the neighbors. I found him really interesting. So I just found it was really well written and a book I almost couldn't put down. So yeah, that one was really good. The next one is, I wasn't sure if I was going to include this one or if I was going to give it an honorable mention, but I decided to include it. This is a very stunning book, Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. And the inside is beautiful. In the cover it says, "Let them fear her." It's very beautiful. I read this book and I loved it. It reminded me, it had similar elements to Six of Crows. To me anyway, I found some of the parallels in the relationships and some of the characters to be similar, but the story itself was different. It had an interesting system of the blood magic and the different types of the like holy magic, and I just found the magic systems and the way they were different from each other to be very interesting. The characters were likable, it was well written, and yeah, this book, I read the sequel to this book, The Ruthless Gods, as an advanced copy on NetGalley. This book is very dark. It's basically like gothic, I would say gothic YA fantasy. It's very bloody and there's lots of violence. But, I mean, if you can handle that, this book is very good. There will be a review coming of this book, so I'm not going to talk any more in depth about it. The next two books that were on my list, I don't have physical copies of. So, yeah, but the first one I got from the library, and the second one I read as an ebook on my e-reader, but I'm still going to include them. And the first one was A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I haven't gotten around to reading the sequels yet, which there's now 2 sequels. There's A Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, I think, which is his sister's book, which will be very interesting. And then there's a new one, The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, which is about Monty and Percy and their relationship. But I've only read this first one and I really loved it. It's very funny. The characters have such a sense of humor. It makes you laugh. It's just very exciting. It has pirates, which I love. It has adventure. It has basically like they're on the run. There's like bandits. I think people shooting at them at one point, and it was very like adventurous. And yeah, I just really loved it. I couldn't wait to read more. I found it very interesting. So the next book, the final book on my list of my best books of 2019, which I read as an ebook, was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is about mermaids and sirens, mostly sirens, which is about this girl, I forget her name, and it's about a girl siren who's basically like the princess like of the sirens. Her mother's the sea queen, so she's like next in line. The sirens are very bloody. Each year they have to kill someone, like take a heart. So she's 17, so she has 17 hearts, and she tries to get only the hearts of princes. And she's trying to like impress her mom, who's very evil. I found the mother, the sea queen, to be written. People have said that she's written like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, and I can see the parallel, but I also find her a lot, almost crueler. Like she was just a very good villain, very cruel. She never had any remorse. She never showed like love for her child. She never changed or came around in any way, redeemed herself. Her choices were always very cruel, very selfish, and I like when a book can write a really good villain. Then there was this pirate sea captain, Elian, I think that's how you say it, and their paths cross, and yeah, he's a very interesting character. I found him like roguishly charming, but very smart. He's very intelligent and very just not someone you want to undersell or sell short. So I really liked how the story came together. It's a standalone, so there's not a sequel to it, which a lot of people don't like, but I liked it. I found the ending was good. It was an interesting ending that was satisfying. And I mean, sometimes it's nice to read a book that's a standalone, especially in YA, where it tends to be duologies or trilogies. And sometimes you just want to read a book that just wraps everything up nicely in one book. So I actually enjoyed that. It was a standalone. It was just a refreshing read. I do hope to read the author will write more books so that I could read more by her. And yeah, those were my top books of 2019. Let me know your opinions if you've read any of those. What were your favorite books of this year? I'd love to hear some comments down below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll be coming back with another video of my most disappointing reads of 2019, which is a lot shorter list. So you can check back for that soon, and take care.